So today we'll be looking at the ASUS Vivobook S15. This is one of the new Copilot Plus PCs that we have at Microcenter. And right now you can get this for $11.99. And that's actually a steal because it has this amazing 15.6-inch OLED screen. And this screen has a resolution of 2880 by 1620 and 120 hertz. And that's just the screen. Now, obviously this also has the new Qualcomm Snapdragon X Elite processor, which is their new ARM processor basically. And this is a Copilot Plus laptop, so obviously it has the Copilot button, which will bring up Copilot. Can you tell me more about the ASUS Vivobook S15 Copilot Plus laptop?
Vivobook S15 Copilot Plus is a notable entry in the new wave of Copilot Plus PCs. Here are some key points from recent reviews.
Wow.
Processor. It features the Qualcomm Snapdragon X Elite processor.
She's basically doing my job for me. What I like about Copilot Pro is that you can use it with your Office 365 apps. So you get that Copilot up in the corner when you're using Word or PowerPoint, which is actually kind of great if you ever want to use that tool in those apps. Using Copilot itself is actually pretty handy. I have found that actually talking to it helps a lot, especially if I'm trying to come up with a to-do list or if I'm trying to research something. It's really, really good at doing that. Creative, balanced, or precise. Now these are different weights for different temperatures using ChatGPT. So Copilot alone is pretty cool, but that's still using ChatGPT and a lot of the cloud services. The hardware itself, I think, is actually pretty good. So I have Davinci Resolve open here, and this is actually a project that I edited, but I brought the project folder over with all of my files, and I have it on this external hard drive. I have it plugged in right now because I want to show some of the video editing capabilities of this chip. So one thing that I found that's actually kind of interesting is that there is hardware support for H.265 or HEVC encoding, decoding. That's actually really nice. If you use an FX3 or an FX30, maybe a Canon R5, and even some phones have HEVC video, that's really nice because if you've used hardware that doesn't have that support, you always have to use proxies, and you can actually play that footage perfectly fine frame rate. You got the 23976 right up there. So playback with just raw H.265 footage is perfectly fine. That's also something that you can get on an Apple M1, M2, or M3 MacBook Pro, and you can also get that on this hardware as well. With Davinci Resolve, once you start using the color tab and you start doing some color grading, that's where things are going to get a little bit hefty. So you still are going to want to use a proxy workflow. And frankly, it doesn't matter how high-end your equipment is, you should always use a proxy workflow anyway. It just makes things easier. But one thing to note about this is they have this new feature that uses the NPU on the X Elite chip. So I'm going to find a clip. So I'm going to take this node and I'm in the Magic Mask tab. So with this tab, basically you just draw on any area of the frame and it'll start to mask that area of the frame. So I drew on my shirt and you can see it got a little bit of my neck there. So let me see if I can use the subtract tool to remove some of that. And look at that. That's actually really cool. And that worked really fast. It uses the NPU a little bit, and then I think if I try to apply this to the whole clip, you're going to see some more of that in action. So you can see the NPUs being utilized as well as the GPU, and our memory is kind of filling up. So the ASUS Vivobook that I'm using only has 16 gigabytes of LPDDR5X memory. It also has a 1 terabyte SSD as well. All in all, I would say this is kind of like an entry level into content creation if you want to get really into the heavy editing side, especially when it comes to doing color correction. Now, I think as we see these apps get more support on this new platform, I think we're going to see gains in performance. Right now, Davinci Resolve, at least this public beta, is working really, really well. But again, definitely going to want to use proxies. This is just the raw footage just coming off of my hard drive, and I should really have no issues with throughput with this external drive since it's an external SSD. This is a pretty good piece of hardware, especially with this monitor. This screen here, this OLED screen, it looks really, really crisp. The colors look fantastic, so if you're doing any color grading, everything you need is right there. If we open up our old friend, Microsoft Paint, we get access to Co-Creator. This one's actually pretty fun. So with Co-Creator, what we could do is we can kind of draw a picture and then we can use it to have AI help us make a better picture. So city skyline with the sun shining and some clouds overhead. There we go. Now you see that NPU usage starting to skyrocket, and it's starting to make an image. So you see it's building it out there. Look at that. I just went from a couple of little boxes that I drew, and now it kind of looks like a New York City skyline. And again, that's actually using that local NPU hardware, so that AI accelerated hardware is being used. Now, the amount of apps that are actually using that hardware are few and far between. We were looking at Davinci Resolve, that's using that. Co-Creator is obviously using that as well. One of the other things I really want to point out is the camera. The camera on this is actually really, really nice. This is a 1080p camera. So this is what I look like, and this is what I sound like in the studio right now with the camera and the built-in microphone array. Honestly, this is a really crisp looking image. I like this a lot. The colors here and the saturation, you know, because I have a couple of different colors here in the studio right now, it's a little all over the place, and I think the lighting is a little less than ideal, at least at this angle. But maybe if I turn it to a different angle, yeah, that looks really good. A privacy switch right here, so if you ever want to deactivate the camera, it'll just cover it right there. And all of these features and all of the functionality of this laptop, I have to say, it really is geared just towards that professional or business user. It's lightweight. This is about 3.31 pounds, which is actually not too heavy. So I think they're setting the stage for a really good year for Windows on ARM. And I really like this ASUS Vivobook S a lot. This is a really good device. It's actually, I really like the widescreen on this as well. I prefer a wider screen instead of a taller screen on a laptop. That's just my preference, so I think this is a really good look. A couple of other highlight features to point out: 2 USB-A ports on the right side over here, and then on the left side you have your HDMI as well as your micro SD card reader. And then remember, this also comes with Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 5.4, so you're definitely going to get the best wireless speeds out of this guy as well. If you're interested in Windows on ARM, if you're interested in the new Qualcomm chips, I definitely think it's worth checking out. And I definitely think it's worth the investment. I know that I've been saying that this year seems like kind of a transitionary year for Windows, at least getting into ARM, but I think they did a really good job kind of nailing it right out the gate, especially targeting exactly who they want for these devices. People that want this kind of device are people that need long battery life. Period. That's what it comes down to. And they're more efficient chips, and with the 70 watt-hour battery, you're really going to get that battery life. So I got to be honest, I know I have this plugged in right now. I haven't charged these laptops very much. We have a couple of other Qualcomm chip laptops as well. We don't charge them very often. I kind of just let them run for days and days, and they seem to hold up just fine. I just plugged this in because I wanted to run Davinci Resolve. So remember, you can get this laptop at your local microcenter, and if you don't have a microcenter near you, remember to comment hashtag I want a microcenter near me.